I keep stopping it. So, let me go and check the connection. It's not appearing like it's coming, but then it is. Let's see if I could do the little eyeball thing. So the eyeball thing tells me, voila, here I am. Let me make this public. So I did a video and, let me make this public. I did a video not that long ago, about a couple weeks ago. Let me see here. Here we go. I did this video and I want to share it with you guys. And bear with me, I've been having some technical glitches lately with this system. We re-signed up for Restream, which allows us to broadcast on a bunch of different platforms, which is really kind of exciting. So let me just get this going here. Bear with me, folks. I'm gonna let people pop on and stuff. So, oh geez, today's Thursday. Do you guys forget what like day of the week we're in? Because it's been so weird. I forget what day of the week it is. Like literally forget what day of the week it is. It's so surreal. I remember not that long ago being up at the Capitol and here we are hearing that this was all going to go down. And here we are now. So, yeah. So I wanted to do this video. I wanted to share with you guys this video that I did on the economic reality of the COVID epidemic or pandemic, sorry. So we're not hearing a lot about that. Let me just go here. So we're not hearing that much about what's happening economically to people in the COVID, post-COVID. Are we post-COVID? No, we're like, I'm going to move this out of the way here. We're in the throes of this COVID pandemic, and there's a lot of disturbing realities that are not really being talked about that we need to have a conversation about. And one of those being is the economic consequences. So this is a really sobering number that I wanted to share with you guys. It is mind-blowing. So let's just take a peek at the economic consequences of the COVID reaction, because this isn't the virus that is doing this. But here, this is from the Connecticut Department of Labor website. This is from their website. It says the agency has now provided over 1 billion, this is at the federal level, benefits, and 433 million in state benefits and 607 million in federal benefits. And this is, I'm sorry, I said federal. This is the Connecticut Department of Labor website. Now, it said that more than 480,000 claims have been made. Did you guys hear that? More than 480,000 claims have been made for COVID. That's just to me like 480,000 claims. That's not including what is also happening with the small businesses, because they're having some difficulties getting their applications online, and there's slowdown. There's this thing called a PU something PUA. It's like it allows you into the porthole to claim your benefits for small businesses, and it's blocked up. The state says that it's going to have that fixed. So one of the questions that weighs heavy on me, what if that happens to you? So what is your recourse? Now, there are 480 claims made. They've processed 431,000 claims. So there are still people waiting. And if you go online, you can go on Twitter, look at I can talk today. Look at Governor Lamont's Twitter, and you could see a lot of different people talking about the delay in unemployment. People who are pleading with the governor, help us. We don't have the money to pay our bills. We don't have the money to buy food for our family. Unemployment is backed up. So we have these executive orders that are stopping people from opening their businesses and going to work if they're non-essential. So I have questions. So what is non-essential and what is essential? And one father I talked to said, how is not feeding my children not essential? So here we are in this post-COVID world, and I want to read this to you guys too before I play you this video. This is from the WebMD. You guys can look this up. This is WebMD. And according to WebMD, early estimates predict that the overall COVID-19 recovery rate is between 97 and 99.75%. That 8 in 10 people who get COVID, the disease caused by the coronavirus called SARS-CoV-2, will only have mild illnesses, and most won't need to be hospitalized. This is coming from the WebMD. This isn't me making this up or saying this. This is coming from the WebMD. So I want to play this this short video here. Here we go. On March 20th, 2020, Governor Ned Lamont ordered the shutdown of all local non-essential businesses and ordered all non-essential employees to stay home and stop working due to the COVID pandemic. Since then, unemployment has risen to 3.9%, according to the Department of Labor as of March 2020. Hartford, Connecticut has the highest unemployment rate of 6.6%. To put that in perspective, that's 3,520 people that are out of work in Hartford. Bridgeport is at 6.6% with 4,200 people out of work. Waterbury at 6.4% unemployment rate with 3,222 people out of work. East Hartford has an unemployment rate of 4.7% with 1,288 people out of work. Since Governor Lamont's shutdown, many residents in Connecticut are struggling just to get by. Food insecurity has become a serious threat. In East Hartford, Connecticut at Rentschler Field, thousands of people come to get food. The lines are so long that Food Share extended the program until May 8th. In fact, Food Share is having difficulty filling the need as grocers are unable to donate any food. With no clear end in sight, the speculation is that Connecticut could open up in May, but it will have to follow the guidelines of Ned Lamont's hand-picked panel to open the state of Connecticut. There are no legislators on the panel that Governor Lamont has put together. Representative Craig Fishbein submitted a FOIA request. I quote, "The fact of the matter is that myself and the other residents of Connecticut are entitled to an open and transparent disclosure of the creation, appointment, and doings of this unilaterally created group," Representative Fishbein said. He continued, "The process should not be shrouded in darkness or without sufficient transparency or public scrutiny. Is it good public health policy to quarantine the healthy and to stop people from going to work so that they can feed their families? How am I not an essential worker?" asks a brave, unmasked father. "How is feeding my family not essential?" This economic crisis is going to punch us square in the face as people cannot feed their children, pay their mortgages, or open up their businesses again. Unemployment is behind. How are people going to survive like this? Not only is the economic crisis incredibly hard, there are people with serious mental health issues, there are people that need to get therapies, and the elderly sit alone in nursing homes. Yet the data on the COVID tells us most will survive the virus, and some will barely know that they have it. Every worker is an essential worker. The sick people need to be quarantined, and the immunocompromised should be protected and take precautions. The healthy need to go back to work. It is time for Connecticut to open back up so we can stop this growing food crisis, poverty, and economic disaster. Okay, so, am I still muted here? There we go. I want to make sure my mic is going, because that happens sometimes, and I'm like, blah, 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 and I got no mic going. So I shot that video in East Hartford about a week ago, right at the end of April. And I've been looking at the Connecticut Department of Labor. I've been waiting for the new numbers to come out. I'm really, really curious. So the state of Connecticut is at 3.7% unemployment. And this nationally, it's up to like, oh gosh, it's 33 million. And I don't have the stat for nationally what that percentage is. And all these numbers are kind of strange how they work. And a lot of people that kind of fall through the cracks, especially independent folks and people who are employed, for small businesses and stuff like that. Wow, it took 4 weeks. And if you are a minimum wage worker, you are essential. Yes, small business people who earn what I do will take a pay cut. Wow, I'm really sorry to hear that. Thanks for sharing, Travis. I appreciate it. These are things that I don't think anyone is thinking about. So what do you do in those 4 weeks? Because one of the statistics that I've recently heard is that most Americans, like half the population, is not able to handle a $1,000 emergency. So if you're in a situation like we are now with COVID, what happens? What happens when you can't pay your rent or your mortgage? So the governor has deferred rent payments for 3 months. So what does that mean? That's not a rent freeze. And if there was a rent freeze, who pays for that? And these are valid questions. This isn't something that we shouldn't be asking. It's something we should be asking. So when you have a situation like this where you're quarantining healthy people and you're shutting down businesses and not allowing people to make decisions for themselves, we are in a very strange, slippery slope of censorship, of free speech violations, and the right to open your business. There's a mom in Texas sitting in jail right now as I speak. I'm hoping that she gets out soon, but she was sent to jail for 7 days and fined $7,000. The judge in Texas said to her that she needed to apologize and he would let her go. And she refused to apologize, said, I'm not going to apologize for needing to feed my children and my family. I have to work. This is my business. After a month of being on a total shutdown and not being able to work, she's out of money. I mean, that's not, why is it all of a sudden selfish to be concerned about how you're going to feed your children or pay your rent or mortgage? Why is it all of a sudden selfish to care about the fact that whatever you've been saving for how many years is dwindling at a rapid rate? Why is it selfish to redress your government when you say, wait a minute, the Royal Imperial College data was flawed. We've built this whole shutdown based on flawed data. I'll just say this again real quick here. This is just insane. So about 8 in 10 people who get COVID, so it's 8 in 10 people, the disease caused by coronavirus, which is extremely common. The coronavirus is everywhere. We've had coronavirus. Everybody's had a coronavirus. That is the common cold. It's a very, very common thing. It's even common in the animal kingdom. There's coronavirus in dogs. There's coronavirus in cats. When you start to read about virology and start to read about viruses, it's really, really fascinating. So coronavirus is extremely common. So the coronavirus called SARS, Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome, is what that stands for. CoV-2. So that's the strain of the coronavirus that we're having difficulty with. That is really bad for elderly and immunocompromised people. Now, I'm not saying that elderly and immunocompromised people don't count. Of course they count. Everybody counts. But we don't stop an entire society and shut down our economy for immunocompromised and sick people. We take care of those people. We take precautions. Those folks take the precaution and their families take the precaution. And that's how we navigate around this. We don't shut everything down. So back to the WebMD. So what does it mean to get a mild COVID-19 cases? You're not going to feel good like with any kind of lousy cold that you get, but you should be able to rest at home and recover fully without a trip to the hospital. That is WebMD. That's not me saying, oh, it's, 8 out of 10 people are going to weather this pretty well, not need any extra hospital care. And if you guys aren't familiar with Dr. Brownstein, I really suggest that you check out his COVID survival stories. He has been treating lots and lots of people with COVID in Michigan. He is an integrative is the wrong word, holistic. He's a medically trained doctor. He's board certified, but he's into holistic medicine. So he is using natural remedies and things like that to help his patients. And they've had astounding success with this. So when we're seeing all this positive stuff coming out, and he's been doing stuff with IV vitamin C and also IV peroxide, which I've never couldn't even imagine. I would never suggest that anyone try to do this at home, stick an IV in your arm. Obviously not. You would want to work with a medically trained practitioner who understands functional medicine. Not integrative, I said the wrong thing. Functional medicine is what I wanted to talk to. So what a functional medicine doctor is going to be very open to the whole of the body, meaning that what we're eating and what we're ingesting matters. And those therapies could be very useful, as well as more stronger therapies too. But Dr. Brownstein has really great survival stories of COVID-19. So I don't want to keep this video too long. It's a beautiful day outside, but this economic crisis that we are facing, we have to ask ourselves, is the economic crisis more dangerous than the virus? We look at the numbers. In Connecticut alone, there are 480,000 unemployed people who are recently unemployed. We're not seeing the same numbers for COVID, okay? I'm thankful for that. I don't want to see a bunch of sick and dying people. That's not what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with something that is like we've never seen before with the economic crisis. Like I just said from the WebMD. This is WebMD. The early estimates predict the overall COVID-19 recovery rate is 97 to 99.75%. And that's the data that we're starting to see. This is being affirmed. This was put out by WebMD early on when the crisis started. Now, the data is showing us this very same thing. We're not seeing the numbers of the Royal Imperial College because their data, their models were off. We're shutting down our entire economy. And Oregon just said that they're not opening until July. Our governor says we're going to open kind of. And then he's got this long list of criteria for opening up, which is very unnerving. And we really need to start asking a lot of questions and not reacting out of fear. Fear isn't going to get us anywhere. Why are we quarantining healthy people and stopping healthy people from working? Why are we putting people in jail? This happened in Texas. A mom is in jail today for opening her business because she ran out of money after being home for a month. And she wants to open her business. And now she's being fined $7,000 and put in jail. Meanwhile, they're releasing people out of jail due to COVID, and they're putting her in jail because of COVID. Does that make any sense? Is this the route we want to go? Is this how we're going to handle this? This is not. How is this good public health policy? How is it good public health policy to stop people from working? What about the consequences of poverty and what that does to families, to children? What about children who rely upon the school lunch programs? What about children in households where there's a lot of tension and school is a reprieve for these kids? What about those consequences? What about the consequences of mental health issues, depression, suicide rates, domestic violence, all on the rise? All of it in numbers that are exceeding what we're seeing, the data, the actual data coming out of the COVID that we're seeing now. And there's still questions. How accurate are the COVID-19 tests? Okay, how accurate are they? Because when you start to investigate how they even produce a test and what it tests against, there's a lot of questions that come from this, okay? So how accurate are the tests for COVID? That's number one. And when they say died with COVID, what does that mean? You don't die with something, you die of it, not with it. Then it didn't kill you. So if somebody is coming in and they have COP or the chronic infection of the lungs where they can't breathe, and they've had this problem for a long time, and they also are testing positive for a coronavirus. Is it the coronavirus CoV-2, or is it a similar virus, and the test, is it accurate enough to say specifically it's CoV-2? What if it's CoV-3 or CoV-4? But there's so many similarities, there's only a slight change. And what about the fact that viruses mutate? What about that? So it goes back to this point. We've never in our history quarantined healthy people and told healthy people not to work and made them stay home by executive order. Or you could be thrown in jail, as this woman was in Texas. I don't think that's necessarily going to happen with Connecticut, but I don't know. And I want to support any and all businesses that want to open, because I think that we have the ability to make conscious decisions. I have the ability to make a conscious decision regarding my health. The government cannot protect my health. I'm responsible for that. I don't want the government to be responsible for my health. I don't want the government to tell me what type of medical procedures I can or cannot have. I do not want the government telling me when I can or cannot work. I do not want the government's COVID Big Brother surveillance system tracking every move I make and any person I've ever come in contact. What if I do test positive for COVID? What if I do, right? Does that mean that I've already fought it off and have the antibodies, right? And we're all done? Or does that now mean I am an asymptomatic carrier? And what does that even mean? Asymptomatic carriers are healthy people. Asymptomatic carriers are healthy people. Healthy people build up herd immunity. This is what we've heard over and over and over again in the vaccine debates, okay? There's this whole debate, oh, the vaccine gives you herd immunity. We could go all into that, right? The whole concept of herd immunity is that the healthy get sick and they recover and they protect the rest of the community. And also the virus mutates into weaker forms. When more healthy people get sick, the virus gets weaker and then eventually dies out. So when you make healthy people stop working, when you make healthy people stop being in society and living their lives, you're actually making the problem worse on so many levels. And economically, Connecticut has 480,000 people who are unemployed. And that is going by March, the March numbers. Okay, that's not even putting all of what's going into April. And what about all of the small businesses who are just ready to apply? So my heart goes out to all the people out there worried about when they're going to be able to work again, because this is a really serious thing. It's not selfish to care about feeding your family. It's not selfish to want to provide for yourself and not want to be reliant upon the government. That's not selfish. So we need to start to be able to have a dialogue without having it be so contentious. So those are sobering numbers. 33 million people in the country alone are unemployed, and 480,000 in Connecticut are unemployed as we speak at this moment. So there you have it. And the curve is flattened. It really, I don't know how they could even base this curve on anything, because all the initial models were off by a lot. I mean, doesn't math matter anymore? Doesn't that matter? So what's the delay? Okay, what's the delay? It's time to open our state back up. It's time to allow people to go back to work and not be jailing people who want to open their business and feed their family. Let conscious people make conscious choices and be responsible for those choices and decisions, not the government. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you all later.